Hola, piloncillos. Welcome to the 13th episode of the Offerings of Copal podcast. This is your host, Cihua Mazatl. And I hope that you're all doing well, taking care of yourselves. There's a lot of flus and bugs going around. So I hope that you're keeping warm and are doing everything that you need to keep yourself feeling comforted. There are a lot of things going on, and I missed the last 2 weeks. I've been working on a deadline. I'm here for you, hoping to announce that soon. But today, I have a special guest, my duality, my partner, Heriberto Sanchez. It's Cloutly.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be back.
And in light of everything that has been going on, I have been sharing a bit of my feelings with my partner. And it's something that we do every morning. And when we have our little coffee ritual, we talk about a number of different things. And I always find a lot of wisdom in our conversations and a lot of peace, so I'm hoping that bringing him on today will help share some of those vibrations. I know that there's a lot of worry and fear going on right now, but I'm hoping that this episode will provide a hopeful message, and also some practical advice and what it is that we got to do now. I did want to preface this episode with acknowledging that neither of us are historians, but we are members of the human population.
Life experience?
Yes, human life experience. And we have been observing and watching just as everyone else, and have also been, moving through the motions of life in the current circumstances and environments, and things are definitely getting a bit more difficult, and we're noticing that there's a lot more self-reflection and awareness that is arising. And so that is, at least to me, I find that very pleasing. But I do want to talk a little bit more about what it is that's actually going on. I mean, obviously, this last Monday, we had the inauguration. And so we are going to be talking about those things and the raids and
all the new changes coming.
Yes. Well, if you need to get your tea and comfort or whatever you need,
A shot of mezcal.
We are here with you. Okay. So with the new POTUS, I think the first thing we got to address is fear. I think a lot of people are scared. What would you tell the people that are scared, whether it's on Plaza Tonali? If you guys don't know, my partner and I, we co-run the page Plaza Tonali, and the majority of our audiences are quote-unquote Latinos, Hispanics, Mexica, indigenous people, people that would very much be targeted or will be targeted by in these next 4 years.
I mean, the first thing that I would want to say about the topic of fear is, that to have none, because when you're in a state of fear, you're going to react and you're not going to respond. And they're going to push you to react. They're going to push you to the brink. They're going to want you to, react in a physical, violent manner. And it's unfortunate because it might seem like you have to, but it's not a battle that you can win. This is a situation that only collectively we can overcome. And when you think about everybody in a state of fear, it's only going to just it's just going to multiply it and add to it. And it's not going to do anything really. It's going to make things a lot more difficult. So, as an individual, all you've got to do is just be ready and be, upfront with yourself as far as how you need to take care of yourself. Because if you know in the back of your head that you know your rights or that you have your documentation, then you shouldn't have no fear. And if you don't know your rights, then you need to get educated. There's a lot of resources online And if you don't have documentation, you need to accept the fact that you might go back to wherever it is that you came. And it's not because you're not wanted here or because you're less of a person or anything like that. It's just because, unfortunately, you're part of this game of capitalism that, we all play our part in, that we're trying to escape from.
I feel that right now, the the warrior spirit is being called to the forefront. I do want to spend some time focusing on how we can turn to our ancestral technologies and ancestral wisdom to guide us during these times. I believe that the warrior spirit within all of us is being called forward, and bravery doesn't exist without fear. It is in the face of fear that bravery is born, that you can push past those limitations. I think you're absolutely right that we do have to come together, look at the individual self, but see that our strength is in the collective, and look to each other as a community now more than ever. And I know that we aren't the first or the second or, the last people that are going to tell you how important community is, especially now. But I think right now it is more important than ever to get organized, be connected. This is no longer about, a group of people. This isn't about, oh, well, are you Mexican? Are you not Honduran, Salvadorian, or white, or whatever you may be? It's not about race or these things. We have to come together as a community because this world, that we live in, this country that we live in, isn't about the individual people like they have made us believe. They've spent so much time and energy trying to separate us, indoctrinate us into an individualistic society. And we are reaping the results of that. Like it or not, we are responsible and accountable for this that we have built. And granted, we it wasn't us that built the systems of oppression necessarily, but it was us that bought into them, whether, you know, whether it was through believing in the American dream or whatever it was that got you chasing something, the house, the car, the education, these things that if you have immigrant parents or ancestry, that's what our ancestors came here for. But I also want to mention that immigration, it just seems so silly to me because these are ancestral, like, roots. These are routes. They say routes for that. These are routes that our ancestors would use from years and years and years.
I think it's great that you're bringing up our ancestral technologies because we've been pulled away from them. Our eyes have been shut. Our voices have been covered where we can't talk about them and we can't share them. And when you think about it, our ancestral technologies are simple, nature-based human experiences, things that we all have that we don't need anything. And, there's two of them that I want to discuss, but one's not really technology, but I do want to go over the first one as far as like our human nature. Our ancestors believe that, we came from the stars, or they always looked up, or they knew that there was something more out there. They always wanted more. There was never, this, oh yeah, well, I got these lands and I got this temple and I got like 5 jaguars and 2 monkeys, so I'm good. No, the ancestors always wanted to expand all tribes, all peoples. It's in our nature as well. We don't, you could have everything in the world, but you're still going to want what the neighbor has. It doesn't matter if you're spiritual. It doesn't matter if you're communist. It doesn't matter if you're, a capitalist. Like, it's just in our nature. And it's only when we go back to nature, like real nature, when we realize that we're just this life on this planet that's part of this universe, that we don't want anything, when we can actually transcend this physical world. And that's when the life experience takes over. But this nature has been fed, this desire to want what our neighbors have, the desire to have the stars themselves. The land has already been conquered and pillaged and polluted, yet we still want to do it more. And then we want to leave to another planet to pillage it as well. So the technology's there, everything's there, but the simple fact that, you got to remember that you are that bug, you are that bird, you are that body of water, and nobody wants to realize that. Oh, I mean, that's the first one. You really got to look and see, what is it that you want with this life experience?
I think that's an interesting point to bring it back to the origin. Looking at human nature, I think that humans can sometimes get stuck or caught up in the perceived injustice of the world. And I say perceived injustice because it is an aspect of nature for there to be chaos, unpredictability. And ever since time immemorial, when you mentioned about ancestors, like, wanting what the neighbor has or those things, I think that is an aspect of human nature. But I think it's that focus of like, well, why does that individual or whomever get to live on that land or experience this or not experience sickness, illness, or lack or sudden death, and these things that are just a part of nature. And we attribute them to something. I mean, it's ultimately something that we don't understand, or we can just understand that it is a part of nature. And I think that we've come so far away from from that, that I think we've attempted to create worlds where we don't have to suffer those things, but at the same time, we've also created more of that suffering.
Well, it's interesting, that people think highly of themselves. They think too much of themselves. Like me personally, these lessons that I've learned in this life, I've seen a lot of clarity through observing, which is our inherent like ability to survive. Like that's how a hunter and gatherer made it. They observed, they watched the animals, they watched the weather, they watched. And when you look at, for example, a dog, like our dog, he's laying there peacefully. He doesn't have a job. He just lays there. He sleeps. He eats. He goes to the restroom, and that's his life. He doesn't need anything else. He has his pack, and that's it. And granted, let's say we didn't have this house or whatever, he would be walking with us, looking for food, looking for shelter, and just to eat and sleep, but not humans. Humans, when they've been misled or they've been blocked to see what real life is. And it is just to live. It's not to live with things. It's not to live with this false sense of power or this reality that you're better than somebody else. Like that's when you have the struggles. And when people don't understand or even know what they really want, then they express themselves in very toxic and harmful ways, and when it comes down to like expressions, like how you express yourself, physically as a human, we express ourselves through violence and sex. Like it's very often that it's not very often when people want to express themselves through love. People don't pursue love, they pursue sex. People would rather throw a punch than throw a hug. And I think that's the stuff that we got to watch out for is how we express ourselves in certain situations with this mentality of like, I want, I want, I want, because it is in our nature to want. Like, and I don't really feel that way anymore, but I do want things. Like I want things for the people that are around me that I love, and I want things for all life. And those are the lessons that I've had to learn. And, I think until everybody does that work on their own, realize what they want and realize how they want to live and not live for the system, then things aren't going to get better.
I think so many things are dependent on the level of awareness that we're in. I think it's important, especially if if you've come to this page, you've most likely been wanting to connect with your ancestry in some way. And you can't really do that without also doing the work of removing some of these layers of colonialism, and which I know me and my partner, we often talk about these things. And It's a word that's very like charged, but when you think about it, as you were talking here, talking about the moving and the dog and the walking through things, it's my mind just went into this. It's the settling, the settler mentality that has gotten us to this place in the first place. I keep thinking back about how the people of this land, the people of all the lands, would travel with nature. There is this tribe in the Himalayas, and our people did it here too, that they would travel with the macaque monkeys through the forest. And whenever the resources, the berries or whatever ran out, they would move to different parts of the forest, and they would also eat the monkeys, but they would do it in levels so that it would be sustainable. They never overconsumed or settled in a particular place. And I think we are in the position that we are in this world, the way things are, because of that settler mentality instead of moving. And I think about the Kumeyaay people here in San Diego, who, if you live in San Diego, then you know that the 8 freeway was the original like migration route from the desert to the ocean. And all along their travels, they would plant like the oak tree seeds, so they would grow, so that they could eat from those trees. They worked with the land to keep it sustainable for them. They would create these systems of sustainability for themselves and their people. And we've lost sight of all of that. And I think about our people that are migrating from the south to the north. These have always been our migration routes. I mean, it's just crazy to me that that is what is being punished, but at the same time, this is the world that we live in, the settler world. And I think a lot of people are waking up to that.
Yeah, when you said awareness, it's sad because, with the current administration and the previous administration and the administration before them, with all our leaders, you know, we truly, truly can't say anything other than the fact that, our own demise is coming from ignorance because, we are aware. We know how our leaders are, yet we reelect them. We know how the system works, yet we continue to be a part of it. And ignorance, honestly, anytime that I had any big struggles or challenges in life, it wasn't because I didn't know. It was because I did know and I continue to do the same thing. And ignorance, honestly, is that second aspect of the human nature that I wanted to touch on. And, going back to our ancestors, like it was their ignorance in seeing what they could extract from the Spanish and from their own people is what ultimately led to their demise. And what's gonna lead to ours as well. Me, the way that I look, like if you guys, I mean, some of you might know who I am, but if you don't, I'm tall, I'm bald, I have a beard. I could be Middle Eastern, I could be from India, I could be Mexican. I don't look like an American. I don't look like a Native American. I don't look Mexican. Who knows what I look like? So I've always been a target for my life, for anybody, the police, immigration, customs. So when it comes to those certain things, I've definitely made sure that I wasn't ignorant to my rights and ignorant to the possibilities of what can happen. And that's just what it is right now. We're dealing with a lot of ignorance and people that shouldn't be ignorant. Like we have educated people out there, that are really protesting the wrong things. Like, the protests about, the POTUS taking over our current POTUS, like it's kind of too late. It's too late. We had a chance, and it wasn't through voting. Voting is never going to be the way that we're going to fix this. The only way that, we can fix this is to really look and see what we need in our life and only focus on that. We don't need a Chick-fil-A sandwich. We don't need a Starbucks cup or a Stanley cup. We don't need a new car or a new phone. On the contrary, we need access to clean food, healthy water, both, vice versa. I said it backwards, but it's the same thing. Our water's just as poisoned as our food, and we know better. A lot of us complain about allergies and this and that, but yet we still have the same habits that are killing us, and it's through ignorance.
I think that is exactly the direction that we got to start moving in. I think we got to start moving in a direction of acceptance. This, what you're seeing happening, isn't new. It isn't new. None of this is new. Is it now more in the open so that you can see it? Yeah, but every other politician, all these other people in power before, have never truly been for the people. They've been for themselves and for money and those things. Like, they've been serving the interests of the lobbyists. I don't want to get like crazy into politics, because at this point, it's that's not conducive. But if you don't know why we're here at this point, I don't know what to tell you, but none of that stuff is new. People have been like deporting our people for many, many years. Look up the Mexican Repatriation Act. This has been an issue as long as uh, America learned that Mexico was their neighbor.
Operation Gatekeeper, Prop 187, the list goes on and on. Like there's so many things. It's like cycles, and that's the stuff that I'm telling you about. Like ignorance is gonna force us into a deeper state of survival. And unfortunately, when some people get in there, they can't get out. And the simple way to get out, honestly, is to cut back, to stop this frivolous waste. And that's all that they want you to do. They want you to stop wasting. And, people are a commodity to them. You're not a commodity to the earth. I mean, the earth loves you. The earth cherishes you. The earth has given you this body to live this experience and to have the infinite, but you squander it on the need for high fructose corn syrup in your system. So, what is it that you're going to do? Like like for example, me and Siwa, if a raid happens, all we can do is, take out our phones, intervene where we can to a safe manner. But Siwa susceptible of being taken as well. She doesn't look, blue-eyed blonde. She doesn't even look like, Penelope Cruz passing. She's Mexican. She's, a brown woman, and there's only so much that we have a life that we have to take care of. We have other lives that we're responsible for. But of course, we're going to lend our hand out, and it's like the question is like, are you going to lend a hand out? Like, are you going to help those that you can, and kind of bring in, are you gonna are you gonna blow the smoke and raise the mist so other people can see? Like, are you going to be part of wiping the eyes of others, so they can see their own ignorance?
I think that's really important, looking at how we can come together and find a solution to these problems. We, at this point, it's like we have to accept that capitalism, this oligarchy, that's the hot word right now, is what has become empowered. This shouldn't surprise anyone. At this point, it's like, okay, this is what we're dealing with. We do got to spread the word and help other people understand that, hey, we need every single person, doesn't matter what creed or color, to come together in this, because this is also beyond us. And I hope that we realize that this isn't just about one country too. There's so much of the world that is tied to the interests of this country. And we have to acknowledge that, on the surface level, we can look at capitalism and be like, oh, this is a product of the settler state, colonialism, all that stuff, but the new form of colonization is data collection. I think you said it exactly, that people have become a commodity, that people have become the product. Our data, what we buy, our money is the commodity here. We are literal like pawns. All the money that we have, they already own it. Like, you don't own anything. And the sooner you realize that, the better. Like we gotta start reprioritizing what our values are. Like, how do you truly want to live this life? Is it about the things that you have, or is it about the quality of life? Like, you actually enjoying the fruits, the like the healthy fruits if we can find them, right?
I mean, the
Oh,
other day I got excited at Target because I found English cucumbers for $1 each.
mhm.
I bought everything in stock. Like, what is it that you're reaching for at that store? No, I bet you Target wasn't expecting me to buy all those cucumbers.
Oh, we have a Target right across the street, so it's kind of our go-to. But
But that's the thing, are we telling people, hey, the iceberg lettuce food bowl is only $1? Like, we're posting about each other's BVLs and our new protein, but we're not telling each other, hey, the tamarindo or the jamaica is this price here, or the meat over here is this price, or our friend, we're posting about our friend's new coffee shop, stuff like that. But that's not enough.
mhm.
We need the resources of how to really stretch our money, because on the contrary, they're inflating our money to where it's valueless.
I think it's like we have to start looking about like how it is that we're going to survive. It's no longer it's interesting. So I think about this all the time that, us coming together, our partnerships, our communities, our friendships, it's like we can't be so hard on each other, and I think that some of this like cutting off people stuff has gotten out of hand. We're all human and not everyone's perfect, and everybody's just trying to sort things out. And I don't know, I think that people deserve a little bit more compassion and forgiveness. This is becoming a matter of survival, and this is the earth. And I'm not trying to be like catastrophic or anything like that, but the earth is currently, I don't know if you guys noticed the quality of the crops and the vegetables and stuff.
Hmm.
Everything is not the same. More people are complaining about the food. Before you guys think that we're just like preaching, we do our best to buy what we can that is as clean as we can. We try and eat as clean as we can. We don't buy any processed foods, but it's hard. That does that mean that we have to make the sacrifice in time to eat as as much as we can that is like good and healthy? Yes, there is a trade-off, but we also are trying to make our efforts in growing our own food. I mean, I think a lot of people just don't want to sacrifice their comforts, and ultimately some of the things that we do want to mention here is one, our consumerism. What is it that you're buying? Is it really essential? Do you really need another purse, to match that outfit?
Or a new air fryer.
Oh, yes. Or an air fryer. What is it that you truly, truly need? If you already have one, do you really need another one? And I saw this lady. She said that if we just stopped buying things, if stopped creating things like manufacturing things, that humanity would be good for a really, really, really long time, just using the things that already exist. And even though I love like thrift shopping, doesn't mean that I replace my shopping with now thrift shopping. Like we got to stop our consumerism, like period. Like, do you really consider it's like, do you really need that extra thing?
Yeah, and I've said it here, I've said it in other places. We only have time and energy, and our time is always going away. And our energy can be managed. And when you eat clean, you have more energy. You can do more. You can manifest the things that you want, that you really want, not the objects that you're told to buy. But what everybody needs to do right now is remind themselves, or say to themselves, it is what it is. We have this Republican controlled government, and that's how it is. There was nothing that we could have done to change it.
But we can change it
Well, hold on.
now.
Oh, but we're going to change. Like, you and I are going to change, and we're not going to give that attention anymore. We're going to bring the attention back to ourselves and do that reflection, like Siwa just said, about, what it is that we really need. Because what we really need right now is not to be marching in protest, because let's be real, That man has been charged with everything and he's gotten scot-free. And not only that, he's granting clemency or immunity to people. So we can't do nothing about that, but we can change the course of events. We can take control back of the economy.
We can organize through the dollar.
And exactly, because that's really what it comes down to. If everybody stop, I mean, even if you just imagine if 25 million people in California stopped buying Starbucks, stopped buying Chick-fil-A, stopped buying
just things that aren't a necessity.
Stop shopping at Walmart, and like
buying clothes and
the businesses, which honestly have been running this country for a long time, would lose it. And then we're not even talking about fuel. We're not even talking about gas. Like, if we just stopped doing those things and became healthier and stronger, they would have no other resolve. They would have no other choice but to relinquish this control. And they wouldn't really relinquish anything. You would just see yourself that they have no power, but you give them power.
Because we give them our money. I mean, I think there's like 1,000 things that we could do. There really is. And organization, staying organized is more important than ever. There's going to be so much propaganda. You got to learn what that word is and learn to recognize it because it's everywhere. And, get together with your family, with your friends and, share information that way. But don't be spending your money like frivolously and giving these big companies more of your money because they're just using that power against you to control us all.
One of the things that Cihua saw that I did when we first started dating, when I've been doing it for years now, is like, instead of buying paper towels, I use cloths and I wash them, with bleach and all that stuff, like sanitize them or whatever. It saves so much money. Water bottles, we get our water from a water store. Like if I could, I'd buy a different type of, water treatment system at the house. But, that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. But there's so many things that you can do. Like water bottles
we gave up a car. We only have one car.
We've only had one car. And, working in the transportation industry for so long, cars are made in the millions. People all over the world want a car, and only because the United States, everybody has a car over here when you really don't need one.
Yeah, what else do we do besides?
We make our own bread.
Yeah, we do.
Cihua started making our own tortillas, because, now they're in California, they're going to start enriching.
They're colonizing the tortillas, y'all.
That's another big thing.
NAFTA, you look up the NAFTA food agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
But that's still another presidential thing, like Sheinbaum didn't stop that. Some say she was forced. I doubt it. AMLO fought it his whole presidency.
If you can get your hands on heirloom seeds and plant seeds, build a network, try and get your friends and family, look up your garden zone. You can grow a few things even on your windowsill and have a friend grow this and you grow this and trade. I know. I just feel like things are going to get.
I mean, if you can grow weed, you can grow tomato. Like if you have a hydroponic system for your mother plant, like you can grow anything. So I don't want to hear it. And with hydroponics, you can, it's been around for thousands of years. Our ancestors used it. You can grow everything. I've seen corn coming out of an air system. So there's really no excuse for you to be eating dirty anymore. You are what you eat. And
they're keeping us sick on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this all, I feel like we sound like conspiracy theorists, but this is all real stuff, everybody. And, I know this isn't the typical messaging that I do on this podcast, but I think it's necessary and important that we start looking at solutions. We're just coming on here to share some of the lifestyle changes that we've made, in our lives. And we are always looking for ways to do more. But I mean, if you know us, you know that we live in a small space. We try and do everything we can, to not overconsume and to take care of the planet. One of the really important things that we were talking about before we decided to do this episode together was on how we got to stop being so selfish, and think about our kids. Even if you don't have kids, like I haven't birthed any kids, but I do have kids in my life, and I care very much about children and the future and the planet. And I think it's important that we think about how it is that we're leaving this planet to the future generations. Like, just because we didn't inherit it in a healthy state doesn't mean that we can't like rehabilitate it and take care of it. And that's why it's so important to get familiar with our ancestral technologies and that knowledge and wisdom, planting those native plants and just doing better. But most of all, the thing that's killing this planet more than anything else is our overconsumption. And yeah, I just think that we got to think about the future generations. And I think that this time that we're stepping into is gonna require us to be brave and to fight in not and I don't believe we're gonna fight in the ways that people have fought revolutions in the past, but I do think it's gonna be a different way, and we're gonna have to all put in energy.
Well, we definitely cannot fight with violence because they don't value our life. If we don't value our own lives, why do you think that they're going to value our lives? Like, just remember how they treated, the Native Americans in, South Dakota for the pipeline. And, that was Obama's presidency, blasting people with water cannons, also we can have our gasoline. And this is the only way that we can make real change is through ending consumerism, ending consumption, and living our lives authentically, living how we want to live. I've been a public school teacher for almost going on for 18 years, and I've never been about the system. I've always been there to teach the kids to remember who they are and what they want to do. And it's crazy how I've seen the changes go from, you know, 20 kids, 25 kids really pursuing their dreams and living the life they want to maybe 5 or 4. And it's just getting worse. It's like they almost gave up. Their poor little minds have been blasted with phones and laptops and iPads. And I mean, think about it. Like, were you one of those iPad kids in middle school? Did you get an iPad? And think about how it changed your life, and we can't win with violence. They have more guns, but there's more of us. And all we got to do is honestly is just not buy, stick together.
Yeah, and we can't let them continue to colonize our mind, through media. Like you saw it yourself behind that POTUS. It was all the social media people. I don't even want to say their names. They were standing behind him. Those are the people that are in power. The influence that they have over your mind is unbelievable. They can predict, what it is you're going to buy. They can implant things in such a way, influence you to consume. And it's not just like consumption of physical things, but it's of everything. It's your energy that they are harvesting. And it really is like the Matrix, It's like our favorite movie, but don't fall for it. It is important to connect with others. And I love social media. I mean, obviously, this is how we have the audience that we do, but at the same time, it's a double-edged sword, and so we have to be mindful how we wield it, and we can wield it for good. I don't believe that technology has to be a detriment. I think technology is amazing and can help us like progress, toward a more peaceful, like global community. But it's going to take a lot of work, and we just can't be complacent anymore. We can't sit back and hope that things are going to get better without our own action. Like, we have to get up. Like, we have to act even if it means through not acting, through not buying, through not doing these things. But we can't be complacent. And we have to remember how deeply connected to everyone we really are. And the neighbor isn't your enemy. The people around you aren't your enemy. Even those poor, brainwashed people, that have succumbed to the propaganda. I actually feel bad for them, but I don't feel bad for what they do. I think that they should definitely be held accountable for their hate and all of that. But the world, the system has failed them, just like it has failed all of us. We have more in common with them than we think. And the problem isn't them. The problem is up. What is it that they say? Like, don't look sideways, look up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the.
I mean, I just want to finish up saying that, technology is not supposed to be our enemy, but it somehow has been flipped and used against us. Like, technology is something that makes your life easier and more comforting. And it's been switched a long time ago. You could say that the first technology was really fire, and look how far we've gotten. And now the type of light bulbs, that we have really affect us. LEDs, as somebody who's been in the automotive industry, has seen the progression of like light and how it affects people while they drive. And it's really crazy. So, imagine if you lost electricity. Like, imagine if you lost, how would you live your life if you lost access to just something like electricity? Our ancestors didn't have electricity. They just had candles and torches. And look what they saw. They had less light, but they saw everything. They saw the planets. They saw the constellations.
And that's where the wisdom comes from.
So, look and see what technology is hurting you, and look and see what technology is really helping you. What's enhancing your life? Like, is your phone really enhancing your life? So, yeah, I mean, watch what you consume as well on in a digital sense. Like, you have access to all these great cooking technologies, but do you use them? Like, what is, like, when Cihua makes tortillas, it's literally corn flour, a wooden tortilla press, water, like the simplest thing, and it makes the most delicious food.
And it's not maseca.
It's not maseca.
It's not maseca.
Yes. We don't use that stuff. And honestly, you should stay away from it too. So
yeah, that's one of the changes that we've made is not buying like tortillas from the store, Well, I think one thing I want to bring it back to before we close is maybe the Cuatro Tezcalipocas. This is a teaching that one of our elders passed on to us. And this is the teaching of the Cuatro Tezcalipocas. Tenemos el Tezcalipoca blanco, el Tezcalipoca amarillo, el Tezcalipoca negro, y el Tezcalipoca rojo. And he told us that the Cuatro Tezcalipocas, besides all the power of Tezcalipoca that they represent, but it also represented the four people, the four cardinal directions, the people of the cardinal directions. We have that they reflect the colors of our skin. We have the red people, the white people, the yellow people, and the black people, but they're all part of the same, that they're all one Tezcatlipoca, one humanity. And I just hope that everyone can remember that we're all human and we're all just trying to live our lives. And there's a lot of things that are trying to impede with that. And I hope that we can just come together.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to, second jump in on what Cihua said. And, remember, one is all and all is one. We're all just life. We're part of the creation.
We sound like such hippies.
Yeah. So it is what it is.
Yeah. But
we don't look like hippies.
I'm hopeful. I believe that we can do it. And I know it's scary right now. And, I have my moments of fear as well, but I believe in us, and I believe in the beautiful things people can do. We've been through like so much worse, as humanity, and we can get through it again.
Yeah. I think that if you have a desire, you will.
Yeah. Well, I hope that this conversation has been helpful. Let us know your thoughts in the comments and share this with anyone that may need to hear it. I do also want to share something really quick, a resource that was passed on to us from our networks, and they'll remain anonymous. But if you haven't heard, Mexico has released an app called Consulap. So it's CONSULAPP, like console app, Contigo. You can download this app and it pretty much you can put in contacts of your loved ones, and with the press of a button, if you happen to be detained, it will let the Mexican consulate know and your family members know. So if please pass that information on to anyone that may need it. Even if you don't need it, please pass that on. Let's all do our due diligence to watch out for each other. Remember that you have more power than you think. Really, really start looking at what it is that you truly need and what your happiness is composed of, because I can guarantee you it's not composed of stuff. So ask yourself what's really important and what's worth fighting for.
I agree. Remember, your power is yours and you give it away. Nobody can take it from you. So that's what I leave you with.
Pues bueno, muchas gracias. Thank you for not giving us the time of your day. You share your palabra with us. And yeah, I love you.
Pasapamati, I love you.
Askamati. Thank you, Piloncillos. Remember, if you would like to hear more of my wisdom, you can pick up a copy of my book, Tlatoli Oracle, on my website. I am an independent artist, publisher, trying to make my way out of this system, and live life on my terms. And I would love your support in that way. And I also, if you are also a creator, I would love to support you in your pursuits as well. I believe that we can all live this life doing the things that we love, and they shouldn't be considered commodities or luxuries or these things. Art is important. And, when times get dark, turn to the paper, turn to the word, and make beautiful things. We need your voice too. Bueno, pues, Paskamati, Ometeot.